Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is day 14 of our study. We are 2 weeks into this. We only have 1 week left of our 21 days of prayer for our business. Can you guys believe it? We are 2 weeks into this. I tell you what, I'm blown away every single day by the topics that the author Monique McLean gives us to really dive into, and today is no exception. Today is, boy, guys, I thought some of these other topics were really digging up some junk and some deep stuff, but today gets pretty personal. If it hasn't already, it's pretty personal. Good morning, Cora. Good morning, Ruth. Good morning, Carol. How are you guys today? Today we are going to talk about fighting for our family and what that looks like. I don't know about you guys. When you guys do this, if you guys haven't looked at this chapter already, I started it thinking like, all right, cool. We're going to fight for our family like we fight for our businesses, and brought to light some stuff, some junk, that we need to dig through to be able to fully release everything to the Lord. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Monique McLean here. I have told you guys before that she is just so wonderful. She's so encouraging. The Lord has really given us a gift through this woman to be able to write this book for all of us to be able to use as a tool to grow closer in our relationship with God and to put it in place for our businesses. And she's, no exception here at the beginning of this chapter. She says, I am so proud of you for sticking it out and allowing the Lord to have his way in your life and business. We have been handing things over to God, finding freedom, figuring out how we are uniquely made, catching visions, being intentional, growing, not quitting, living a life of worship, doing things with excellence, being free of perfectionism, creative problem solving, building communities, and surviving conflicts. We are accomplishing some great things with God's help in our lives and businesses. Let's make sure to fight for our families with the same tenacity. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how the Lord calls us to fight for our families. And business and family can go hand in hand a lot of the times. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Paula. Glad you guys could join us today. So, she goes on to say that she's no expert in the family department. I am no expert in the family department. I don't know that anybody could call themselves an expert in the family department besides our Father, right? Our Father in heaven. She goes on here to saying that, and I can totally relate to this. I don't know about you guys. Let me just share what she says here, because maybe you're kind of the same way and can relate to this as well. She says when she's talking about her business, she loves what she does. She can talk about it 24/7. She loves to dream. Many times I feel like my family is getting kicked to the curb in the middle of all this work. I deal with tons of guilt when that happens. So, a little story I'll share with you guys when I read this brought back memories. I mentioned that I contributed something to our company, the company I work for, several years ago, back in 2014, that I put a lot of time and effort into. And I spent a lot of late nights down in my office working on my computer. I mean, literally until 2 and 3 in the morning sometimes. And I know that during that time, even though my husband was so very supportive of what I was doing, we grew apart because I was focusing 100% on what I was doing with my business. My family was secondary. My family was not my priority at the time. And I felt my relationship with my husband growing a little cold, so to speak. And not to say that we were in any kind of bad situation at that spot at all, but I knew that I needed to do something a little different to help the situation. But I also still needed to get my work done. So what I asked my husband to do was, because he would come downstairs in the evenings and he'll be like, are you coming up to bed? Are you coming up to watch TV with me? No, I'm working. What I asked him to do was to move my computer upstairs to the bedroom. And I know some people might say, what did you do that for? Don't bring your business into the bedroom. But, and it's not there now. It was only there for a short season. But I was able to at least be in the same room with him while I was sitting at the computer working on my stuff. He would be there watching TV, and we could at least spend some time together. So that was my solution for the moment, right? So just a little side story of, yeah, I can relate when she says that she can, love what she does and she can talk about work 24/7. It also helps when you're doing work, it doesn't feel like work. Like, that's what I always tell people. Like, I love my job because even though I'm working and making money, it doesn't feel like I'm working because I'm having fun. I enjoy doing what I do. So then she goes on to say, remember what we said about excellence versus perfectionism. I believe many times we allow comparison to creep into our personal lives just as we do in our businesses. Comparison steals your joy no matter what's being compared. So we've talked about this, guys, right? We've talked about comparing ourselves to others, comparing our businesses to others' businesses, that we're not as successful as them. What are they doing that I'm not doing? How can I be like them? Well, I think we can tend to do that with our families, with our marriages, with our kids, right? We see another family that's out there, and they look like they have it all together, right? They've got the perfect home, they've got the perfect cars, the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. Their kids are getting straight A's in school. And, well, my kid just got a C on his report card. Our family's never gonna be like them, right? And that steals our joy. Guys, don't allow the devil to do that to you. Don't allow Satan to creep in and say that, oh, well, our family isn't good enough. That's a lie. So she goes on and she asks us, she says, I know I'm asking some very personal questions, but she wants us to write out. She says, she says, you know what I'm about to ask you to do, don't you? Do you mind writing some of these times out when we've compared? I know I'm asking some very personal questions, but I pray the time you spend thinking on this will open your eyes to things you can bring to the Lord in prayer for today. So if you have your books, you're going to be doing this in your book. If you don't have the book, pull that journal out that you've been doing all of your wonderful homework in, and write this out. So I'll share what I wrote. My goal as a mother was to raise successful, independent children that grow up to be a contribution to society. That's kind of how I viewed my job as a mom, right? Like, that was, make sure my kids can take care of themselves when they grow up, basically, right? But I also wanted to be in close relationship with them, and I wanted them to be in close relationship with each other. I was so thrilled when I found out that my second daughter was another girl. My first daughter, she was born in 1999, and when she was almost a year old, we found out we were pregnant with my second daughter, and so they were going to be almost 2 years apart. And we found out that she was a girl, and I was so excited because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted the two girls to grow up as sisters and be as close as they possibly could be. And I thought, oh, wow, what a gift that I'm giving the two of them, right? I'm giving them each a sister to be close with. My third child is a boy, and oh my gosh, he is, I'll tell you, if you don't have a boy, or if you do have a boy, you can understand. If you don't have a boy, let me just tell you, that whole, mama's boy or, mother-son relationship is a completely different dynamic than a mother-daughter relationship. My son and I are very close. I am very close with my daughters as well. Don't get me wrong. But there is definitely a difference between my relationship with my girls, and my relationship with my son. And it's not that, one over the other or anything like that, although they probably sometimes feel that way and what have you. But it's just different. It's just different. There's just a different dynamic. And maybe it's also because he's the baby of the family. They always say, oh, he gets away with so much that we never would have gotten away with. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I got a little bit older and more mature and just learned how to let things go sometimes too. But anyways, my girls, the whole dream of them being close and being best friends as they grow up hasn't happened yet. They are now 19 and 17. And although they are close, and I know that they do share things with each other, and have, special moments with each other, the two of them are not best friends, and they disagree on a lot, and they butt heads a lot. And when they were, both living at home, my oldest has moved out now, but when they were both living at home, they would butt heads a lot. They still do. I have my one daughter says, please make sure that the other one, doesn't ruin this, doesn't say the wrong thing, doesn't, and it's like, oh my gosh, you guys, just get over it already, right? Mary says, my mom always said she would rather raise boys than girls, not that that is a bad thing. And then she also says, I am the baby, and that's what I was always told. Cora says, I have a daughter and a son, and so thankful to have both. Today is Michael's birthday. Oh, happy birthday. 33 years. They will become closer as they get older. Yes, I know. I had a conversation with my oldest about a little over a year ago, or almost a year ago, I guess it was, when after she got engaged. And she was trying to figure out, who she was going to be asking to be her bridesmaids and her maid of honor. And she wanted to ask one of her best friends, Maddie, who lives down in Florida. She's not here in Ohio. And she wanted to ask her to be her maid of honor. And when she said that, she's like, well, sure, I would like to ask Ashley, but I just don't feel like we're as close, as Maddie and I are. And I just said to her, you know what, Sierra, you're close with Maddie right now, but you don't know what your relationship with Maddie is going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. What I do know is you will still have your sister Ashley 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. Just think about that. And I didn't push it. I didn't say, well, you have to ask Ashley, it's completely her decision. And now things have changed. She's going off and getting married in Hawaii this coming summer, and she doesn't even have a maid of honor. In fact, I think that my husband and I are the only people that are going with them. So looks like Jason and I will be standing up for Sierra and Craig at their wedding. So, things change, guys, right? So then another part of this that I wrote is, this is my second marriage. Jason is not my children's father. I was married to my children's father for 9 years, and it was not a very good marriage. Just to say that. There was a lot of not so good things that happened during those 9 years. And I came to the point where I decided that I did not want my children growing up thinking that that's the way a marriage was supposed to be, that that's how a husband should treat a wife, and that that is how children should be treated. And I made the decision to leave the marriage. It was not an easy decision. And I know that it breaks God's heart every time that there is a divorce. But I also knew in my heart that God wanted better for me, and he wanted better for my children. But also that leaves the guilt. right? When my marriage to their father failed, I knew that my children deserved more. I deserved more. We deserved better. But I also knew that we would never be that perfect family. Divorce is not fun, guys. My mom and dad got divorced after 22 years of marriage. You would think that at 22 years, they would have it figured out, right? Some of my sisters were younger. Well, all of them were younger. A couple, I think, were in college or about to be in college. A couple were in high school. And then my youngest sister was still in grade school when it happened. And they are forever changed because of that. And I feel that I was actually already married when they got divorced. It's my mom and my stepdad. They were married when I was in second grade. I already had my own family and was married, and my heart breaks for my younger sisters because I feel that because of my parents' divorce, they probably look at marriage differently than I do. Hopefully they learned to not repeat our parents' mistakes, right? So Monique says, I believe to have a healthy and prosperous business, it helps to have a healthy and thriving family. If your family's life is chaotic, it spills over into your business. If your business is chaotic, it spills over into your family. How do you have a healthy and thriving family? You have to fight for it. You embrace the same concepts we have been talking about in the 21 days of prayer for your business. Guys, this could be 21 days of prayer for your family. Take the same concepts and turn it into your family. You give God control. You find freedom from your past hurts and failures. You figure out how you all are uniquely made. Catch a vision for your family. Be intentional with your family. Find ways that everyone can grow in your family. Don't give up when times get tough. Let your love for your family be worship to the Lord. Embrace excellence in your family. Don't be a slave to perfectionism. Be a creative problem solver concerning issues in your family. Let your family be a community where you encourage each other daily and understand where the root of conflict comes from inside your family unit. The Lord wants to have control over every aspect of your life, not just your business, everything. He wants to have, if he wants to have his way in your business, you know he wants to help you in the area of your family. Ask for his help. Pray for a stronger family. So then Monique goes into a story that she shares about a trip to IKEA. Anybody else out there IKEA fans? A lot of my house is from IKEA. In fact, nearly my entire office is IKEA. My bedroom set is IKEA. Anyways, we love IKEA, and so I thought it was funny that she talked about it in here. My good friend Angela, I'm sure Angela, if you're not watching, when you watch the replay and you hear IKEA, you know, you and I both have a love for IKEA, right? So anyway, she talks about a trip that she and her husband Jeremiah took to IKEA. And they went looking for office furniture. And the two of them had been working together 24/7 for about 2 years now. So if you can imagine, if you don't already, you know, most people, you know, wife has a job or stays home, husband has a job outside of the home, or maybe dad stays home. I don't know. Different dynamics for different families. But typically you don't work together, right? Well, these two had been working together now for about 2 years, every day, day in and day out. And they went to IKEA and they were, I guess, looking for office furniture, and they ended up getting into an argument, like she calls it World War III, going down in the middle of IKEA argument over a filing cabinet. And when I heard this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can remember so many times when Jason and I got into arguments over the stupidest things. And can you imagine, over a filing cabinet? I mean, come on. I shared with you guys the argument that Jason and I got into over strip steaks. It's like, oh my gosh, why are we so silly sometimes? So she recognized that the root issue wasn't the filing cabinet. The root issue of this conflict, right, wasn't the filing cabinet. It was the fact that the two of them had lost touch with each other. They were so wrapped up in their business that they weren't taking the time to spend with each other as husband and wife. And so she came up with a solution, and let me tell you, I wish all of us could come up with the same solution. They took a trip to Hawaii, just the two of them. She said that they had some airline tickets that had been canceled from a previous trip, and so they had credits that they were able to fly to Hawaii, and they went there for 7 days. Oh, that just sounds heavenly right now. Just taking a vacation, just the two of me and my husband, and just going off, especially when it's so cold here in Ohio. But anyways, she said, sometimes you have to stop the craziness of your business and fight for your family. It's worth it. The point is, be intentional and make time for your family. So she made time for her husband because she recognized there's a problem here. We need to spend time together. And she made space for that time. So then she asked us, what are ways you create intentional family time? So what are you currently doing to create that time that you spend together as a family? So what I wrote down here is that we eat dinner together nearly every night. And in my line of business, which you all know I shared with you, Pampered Chef, there is kind of a little tagline that we share. We create memories around the dinner table. And there is a statistic out there that I share with my customers, is that families that eat together at least 3 times a week have children that are statistically shows they stay out of trouble. They don't get involved in drugs. They have higher grades in school. Just because they are able to create that space to spend time together as a family. And in this world today, guys, it is so important. Everybody is going every which way, sports practices, choir concerts. With me, my business, a lot of times I'm taken away in the evenings because I have parties in the evenings or on the weekends. All different types of things that can pull us in all different directions, right? So finding that space to come together as a family and sharing a meal together is so important. One of our favorite places to go is Kings Island, a local amusement park. We've gone there ever since the kids were little. We get season passes every year. And even if it's just going for, sometimes we go literally just to eat at Kings Island and come home. Like, oh, I don't feel like cooking. Let's go to Kings Island, because we have a meal plan and we're able to just eat at one of the restaurants in the park. Sometimes we go and we're like, oh, I feel like riding a roller coaster. So we just go and we ride a roller coaster and we leave. They have a water park. Sometimes we go there during the summertime and hang out at the pool. And we do it together. It's been a kind of a tradition, so to speak, in our family that we go to Kings Island every year. In fact, we're going there tonight. They have Winterfest tonight. And my son yesterday asked me if he and his friend could go tonight. And I said, sure, we'll go. We have my nephew's birthday party this evening. I said, we'll go after Patrick's birthday party. So anyways, another part is 99% of the time, I invite whoever to go wherever I'm going with me. If I'm heading out the door to go to the grocery store or run to the post office or whatever it is I'm doing, I'll, say, hey, anybody want to go with me? There are some times where I don't ask because I know I need some time to myself. But most of the time I have somebody along with me in the car. With my business, there are times where I have what we call vendor events. If you're in direct sales, you know what I'm talking about. or you might hear the word craft show or something like that, where I have a table set up for my business. Sometimes I ask my husband if he wants to come with me, if he doesn't have anything going on, and he just comes and he hangs out with me while I'm working my business. If I have to go to the restroom, I ask him to watch the table for me, and I always walk back and I see him talking to people, sharing about the products that his wife sells. So, you know, and not to mention that it is a huge help when he is with me, because he helps me carry everything in and out. So, but it's time that we spend together, you know, and it might be business related, but at the same time, I think it helps him have a closer connection with me, and he feels that he's helping me with my business. And in turn, I know that he supports me at the same time too. So she goes on to say, I'm not sure what your family dynamic looks like, but we have 2 girls who are in their teenage years. We try so hard to make this our journey. And she's talking about what they do as a family for their business. A family journey. It's not a Monique journey or my mom and dad's journey, but our journey. We are a family. We have walked through some major hard times, and we have walked through some great times together. We have done a lot of things wrong, but one thing I can say is we have fought for our family. I look at my family often and realize it doesn't look like the typical family. We aren't settled down in one place. We travel a ton. It seems chaotic most of the time, but it's our family. When perfectionism and comparison creep in, I just have to pray we are walking out excellence in what is put before us. So then she goes on to say, and some of you may relate to this that are listening, if you are not, you know, married with children, you know, there's lots of different dynamics to what family can look like. So she says, what happens if you're single? Great question. Learn these principles now. If you do plan on getting married and having kids, these will be tools you can use down the road. If you aren't married, you still have a family. What about your parents, brothers or sisters, extended family? Fight for strong relationships with them. Many times, friends are as close as family. Fight for strong relationships there too. When it's all said and done, family 9 times out of 10 will have your, sorry, I gotta flip the page, have your back. They are usually way more forgiving than the rest of the world out there. They are with you to the end. Let's not take what we have lightly. Be intentional. Let's devote it to God, and let's fight for it. So she has a couple of the memory verses here for us for today. And you may have heard these verses. They're fairly popular out there. In fact, one of them has been my motherhood verse that I have tried to live by. So that verse is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that is the King James Version. I am more familiar with the NIV version. It's very similar, just a little change in words. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. So that has been kind of my verse for motherhood, to train my children up to be successful, independent children, to love the Lord, to have the Lord in their hearts, to know that they can turn to Him for anything, and me. I will do whatever is in my power to help my children, to fight for them. And let me tell you, there have been times, and I can't think of anything specific right now, but I know this to be true. There have been times when my children have been hurt by someone else, by their actions, their words, whatever, and the mama bear comes out. So I'm sure you can probably relate, but I'm like, no, we are taking care of this right now. And I go and I fight for my children. The second verse is Joshua 24:15. You've probably heard this one as well. It is very popular. There are a lot of these wooden signs that are out there that have this saying on it. You may have one in your home. And it says, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. And that is the ESV version. So in the end here, she asks us, she says, today finished up week 2. It's a good day today, guys, wasn't it? A lot of good stuff in here. Fighting for our family is so important. And you guys, I will say this too. I have 3 worship songs that I posted before we started here with the live video. And I really encourage anybody who needs encouragement for their family, is walking through a difficult time with your family or with your marriage or maybe with some children. Please listen to those worship songs and take it to the Lord. They are wonderful worship songs. So please listen to those worship songs today. So she says, today finished up week 2. I would love for you to take some time and write out what you learned this week. Did the Lord open your eyes to certain things? Were there topics that stood out to you? Did you feel like you found freedom over things that held you captive? Share a bit in the space provided, and I will see you back here tomorrow. So then she gives us space to write. If you have the book, you can write to your heart's content. And if you have your journal, pull it out and again, write to your heart's content. So I'm going to close today with Monique's prayer and then go over our walk it out steps. Jesus, we love you. Lord, I thank you for yet another day that people took time out to devote to you. Jesus, today we ask to have your way. We ask you to have your way in the lives of our families. We need you. Lord, help us not to get so caught up in our work, in being busy, that we neglect those who are most important to us, family. Show us ways we can grow closer to one another. Show us ways our families can interact in our businesses. Show us how you uniquely made each of our family members. Help us to catch a vision for our family. Help us grow. Help us be intentional. Lord, if some people reading this today or listening feel like they have no family, remind them that you are their Heavenly Father. Show them ways they can get connected in a community to find family. Jesus, I pray for those who have major battle scars when it comes to the topic of family. I have no clue what those reading this have faced over the years, but you know, Lord. I ask you to heal areas of their lives that need healing. Relational issues are hard, but relational issues inside the family can be earth-shattering. Lord, pull pieces back together, restore relationships, bring peace. We want to be thriving in all areas of our lives. We can't do this on our own. We need you. We will fight for our families, but we want your help. Jesus, again, I love you so much. Pour out your blessings on those who are devoting this time to seeking after you. Amen. I pray for all of your families. I pray for your relationships with them. If there is any hurting, I pray for healing. I pray you find ways to spend intentional time together today and moving forward. Create new memories. Create new habits of living life together. If this is an area that you are lacking in your life, I pray that you are intentional about creating that space. I love you guys so much, and the Lord loves you even more than I ever could. So I pray for you this weekend that you find time to spend with your family, that you have that space, especially with the season that is approaching of Christmas. So let's talk about our walk it out steps, action steps for today that Monique has for us. Number 1, be intentional and create family time. Consider this time non-negotiable. Put it on the calendar and never let anything stand in the way. Number 2, commit to putting your phones away at dinner or when you are spending devoted time with your family. I'm very guilty of that, especially at the dinner table. 9 times out of 10, if I am making a meal that might be related to my business, I have my phone out so I can take a picture of it and post it on Facebook and other social media. And my kids look at me sometimes and say, Mom, can't you just go one dinner without your phone? Guilty. And they're teenagers, guys. Phones attached at their hips most of the time. Number 3, start a group text or group message with your family and keep the conversation going. I love this idea. I think I'm going to do that. I can send them a verse each day and just tell them I'm praying for them. Something good happens. I can share it with them. They can share it with me if something good happens with them. If they need prayer on something, if they need, if something hard is going on, they can share it with us. I love that idea. And number 4, memorize and meditate on Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, and on Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. You guys, this is so good. We only have 1 week left. I'm almost sad. I can't believe we only have a week left and this comes to an end. But, oh man, I knew from the beginning that the Lord he was up to something big with this. And that he was going to have some amazing things happen with each of us in our lives, in our families, in our businesses. He doesn't disappoint, guys. So anyways, I hope that you all have a blessed day today. It's Friday. We have the weekend coming up. I pray that you find time to spend with your business today and also spend time with your family as well. So have a wonderful day, and I will see you all here tomorrow morning. Goodbye.